In a world where most are weak, predictable, and forgotten, your survival and dominance depends on understanding the hidden rules of power. Today, I will reveal 21 laws that strip you of weakness, forge fearlessness, and make you unforgettable. Those who ignore them remain pawns. Those who master them become legends. Listen carefully. Power is not a gentle force, it is cold, unrelenting, and merciless. Humanity bows to the cunning, not the honest. In this dark theater of ambition, perception is weaponized, emotions are manipulated, and alliances are fleeting. In this video, we delve into 21 laws that sharpen your intellect, armor your mind, and teach you how to navigate the labyrinth of influence with precision. This is not for the timid. This is for those who seek to leave an indelible mark on the world. Do you wish to be remembered? To command a presence that lingers, even in absence. Most men drift through life unnoticed, their words forgotten, their actions erased like footprints in the sand. Why is this? Because they fail to grasp the fundamental law of influence. Respect is earned, fear is commanded, and both together make one unforgettable. Consider the rulers of old. Caesar did not merely win battles, he sculpted perception. His enemies whispered his name in dread long before swords were drawn. Alexander conquered continents, yet it was the weight of his reputation that often made resistance crumble before battle. These men understood a simple truth. Power is invisible until it is feared. Presence without danger is merely noise. Respect without command is a courtesy easily dismissed. Ask yourself, when you enter a room, do they notice you, or do they glance past, assuming your voice carries no consequence? Presence is not a gift. It is a strategy, carefully constructed, deliberate, and unyielding. You must become a figure whose silence speaks louder than the chatter of the masses. Observe the subtle. Notice how the timid apologize too quickly, how the insecure laugh too loudly, how the desperate attempt to be liked rather than feared. None of these habits command lasting attention. There is a method to this. First, control your body. Every gesture, every step, every pause carries meaning. Napoleon knew this. He entered rooms like a shadow yet left as a storm. Even before he spoke, he was perceived as a force, unavoidable and precise. Learn to walk in such a way that your movement hints at authority. A slow, deliberate step communicates confidence. A direct gaze, unwavering and intentional, communicates dominance. These are not tricks, they are languages of power. But presence is more than posture, it is scarcity. Men are drawn to what they cannot possess. When you are available to all, you belong to none. When your attention is easily won, your value diminishes. Observe monarchs and generals, they are seldom seen, yet when they appear, all eyes gravitate to them, every whisper halts, every thought bends. This is no accident. It is the law of calculated absence. You do not need constant affirmation to be remembered. You need moments that imprint your essence onto the minds of others. Then comes the strategic use of silence. Words are weapons, but too many can dilute your authority. Consider the kings who ruled through implication rather than decree. One phrase, one measured word, can redirect armies of thought, ignite alliances, or sow doubt in the hearts of rivals. Silence invites curiosity. Silence commands attention. Silence preserves your mystique. And in this silence you become dangerous not by force but by perception. Now, examine fear. Fear is not cruelty. It is the recognition of consequence. When people fear the ramifications of crossing you, they defer, they hesitate, and they respect. History is littered with those who confused kindness for strength. The compassionate ruler who yields to whims loses more than battles. He loses respect, the very currency of power. The cunning understand that respect enforced through fear is far more durable than affection freely given. This does not make you heartless, it makes you strategically superior. Look around you. Every social interaction, every boardroom, every personal encounter is a battlefield of perception. Who commands the room without raising a voice? Who bends intentions without issuing threats? Who leaves others questioning not your motives, but their own audacity to oppose you? That is the mark of presence. That is the law of fear and respect realized. And yet, presence is a delicate balance. Too much fear without respect breeds hatred. Too much respect without fear breeds dismissal. The truly dangerous master knows how to walk this razor's edge. They are remembered not merely for intimidation, but for the careful, controlled tension they maintain, an invisible weight that presses against the consciousness of all who encounter them. So, ask yourself, when you leave a room, do they feel your absence, or do they forget you within moments? Do they hesitate before challenging you, or do they see you as equal, vulnerable, replaceable? The answer defines your trajectory, and if you wish to ascend, to become unforgettable, to command the shadowed respect others crave, you must embrace this law. You must be the figure who is both desired and feared, admired and untouchable. But mastery of presence is only the beginning. To truly wield power, one must learn how to manipulate the currents of influence that flow unseen beneath the surface. And that, my friend, is where the next law begins. Have you ever noticed how the most powerful figures rarely speak the whole truth? How they shape reality with words carefully measured, never revealing the full scope of their intentions? This is no accident. Deception is not merely a tool. It is the lifeblood of influence. To manipulate perception is to control action, and to control action is to command power itself. Ask yourself, do you wish to be a pawn of circumstance, or the hand that moves it? Look to history. Cardinal Richelieu, the master of French politics, built an empire not with armies alone, but with secrets, half-truths, and insinuations. He knew that controlling the narrative was often more effective than wielding the sword. Wars were won on paper before the first arrow was loosed, alliances forged or broken by letters written with invisible poison. And what of Cleopatra? Her allure was not mere beauty, it was perception, carefully curated to ensnare kings and generals alike. Every glance, every gesture, every carefully whispered word was a calculated move in a game only she fully understood. Consider this: humans are creatures of perception. They rarely see what is, but what is presented to them. They act on belief, assumption, and suggestion. If you can control what others believe, you can control what they do, and control is the essence of power. Words are the weapons of the cunning. A lie repeated at the right moment can topple empires. A truth withheld can secure loyalty. The greatest leaders, the most formidable tacticians, all mastered this principle. Do you? Let us examine the mechanics. First, the shadow of ambiguity. Never reveal your full hand. The uncertainty you leave behind forces others to question themselves, to hesitate, to doubt their own judgments. When Napoleon approached a city, he never laid bare his strategy. Rumors, false movements, and selective disclosures sowed confusion long before his troops marched. In that fog of uncertainty, he became not just a man, but a force of inevitability. What could you achieve if you mastered the same art in your interactions, in your work, in your life? Second, the precision of timing. A whispered suggestion at the wrong moment is wasted. A half-truth delayed can become a weapon. Julius Caesar did not seize power by revealing his ambition from the start. He let it grow, cultivated doubt and dependence, until the people's own expectations handed him the crown. Timing is not luck, it is strategy. It is the manipulation of cause and effect, executed with patience and cold calculation. Third, the illusion of transparency. Allow others to believe they see your intentions clearly, while they remain blind to your ultimate goal. In business, in politics, in love, those who reveal too much surrender advantage. Those who reveal too little invite speculation, which can be molded to one's benefit. Consider how a general might feign retreat, leaving the enemy to miscalculate. How many victories begin not with strength, but with the artful orchestration of perception? And yet, beware the reckless deceiver. Deception without discipline collapses under scrutiny. One false move, one misjudged word, and the illusion shatters, leaving you exposed. Observe Machiavelli's own counsel. The appearance of virtue is often more powerful than virtue itself. The world rewards perception over truth. Would you rather be remembered as honorable or unstoppable? The choice is yours. But understand this: perception bends reality, and those who control it bend the world itself. Now, reflect on your own sphere. How many battles have you lost because your words betrayed you? How many victories were surrendered because you revealed too much, too soon, or misjudged the beliefs of others? The wise do not fight merely with force, they fight with shadows, suggestion, and the subtle manipulation of understanding. This is the silent war, waged in minds rather than on fields, in boardrooms rather than in courts. To master it is to rise above the ordinary, to become a figure whose influence extends beyond action into thought itself. So I ask you again, are you content to be seen as you are, or will you learn to be perceived as you wish? To shape reality without raising a hand, to bend decisions before they are made, to command without overt declaration. These are the marks of those who wield true power. Deception, when employed with discipline and strategy, becomes a tool more lethal than any sword or army. But mastery of perception is only the beginning. Controlling what others believe sets the stage, yet the next law reveals how to move unseen strings behind the curtain of human behavior itself. How to exploit desires, fears, and impulses to bend outcomes to your will. And when you understand that, you will no longer merely influence, you will dominate. Do you allow your emotions to rule you, or do you rule them? Most men are slaves to sentiment, prisoners of impulse, and victims of their own affections. They surrender clarity for comfort, strength for sympathy, and influence for approval. Ask yourself, if every decision you make bends to fleeting feelings, how can you expect to command respect or bend events to your will? Emotional detachment is not cruelty, it is strategy. It is the invisible armor that allows the wise to act decisively while others flounder. Consider the rulers who shaped history. Elizabeth I of England navigated a realm rife with conspiracies, rebellions, and foreign threats. Yet she revealed only what served her purpose, never letting affection or personal grievance cloud her judgment. Her enemies often underestimated her, because they assumed emotion would betray her, but she wielded calculated detachment like a blade, precise, silent, and fatal when necessary. Could you learn to observe without attachment, to calculate without hesitation? Detachment begins with awareness. Observe your impulses, desires, fears, attachments, and recognize them for what they are, tools not masters. The human mind is easily swayed by flattery, anger, or affection. Ancient generals knew this. Hannibal of Carthage did not hesitate to abandon loyalty when it hindered conquest. He measured friendship against advantage, and often sacrificed the former for the latter. History favors those who act from reason, not emotion. Why follow the heart when the mind offers victory? Emotional detachment is not numbness, it is precision. It is the ability to feel without being enslaved, to understand the motives of others without surrendering your own. Marcus Aurelius, a philosopher, king, meditated on the control of the self. He recognized that impulses are transient and perception is malleable. By mastering his internal state, he became untouchable in a world of chaos and ambition. What could you achieve if you operated with that same discipline, observing the storm while remaining untouched within it? Yet detachment carries a weapon hidden to most clarity. When others are blinded by affection, resentment, or fear, you see the path with unclouded eyes. This is why the cold, calculated are often the most effective manipulators. Take the Medici in Florence. Their rise was not through brute force alone, but through an uncanny ability to manipulate alliances, betrayals, and loyalties while maintaining a facade of civility. Emotional indulgence is weakness. Detachment is power. When you act from calculation rather than reaction, you bend events before they bend you. To practice detachment, first cultivate observation. Listen more than you speak. Respond, but do not react. Your silence becomes a mirror in which others see themselves, revealing intentions they dare not voice aloud. This is a battlefield of perception. Those who react are prey, those who observe are predators. Every smile, every frown, every pause conveys information. And when you act not in haste, but with the precision of a surgeon, excising obstacles before they fester. Second, control the inner narrative. Your mind is a kingdom, and if sentiment governs the council, chaos reigns. Thoughts of revenge, longing, or fear must be weighed and filtered through the lens of advantage. Julius Caesar, upon facing betrayal in the Senate, did not let grief dictate his response. Instead, he measured the threat, chose allies with care, and executed strategy without hesitation. Could you respond with reason where others collapse in emotion? That is the difference between a ruler and the ruled. Finally, understand the psychology of others. Detachment allows you to see the vulnerabilities of men enslaved by feeling. Where they are swayed by loyalty, affection, or envy, you can maneuver subtly, predict outcomes, and manipulate desire without detection. The wisest conquerors exploit not just armies or resources, but hearts and minds, quietly and invisibly, ensuring that outcomes align with strategy, not sentiment. Ask yourself, are your decisions dictated by impulse or intention? Do you act because you must, or because you feel you must? The difference is the difference between surviving and mastering. Those who cling to emotion are predictable, vulnerable, and soon forgotten. Those who cultivate detachment become untouchable, feared, and remembered. Yet emotional mastery alone is not enough. Awareness of self opens the path to influence over others. But to control the currents of human behavior completely, one must also learn the next law, the art of exploiting weakness without remorse. And it is in that cold, precise manipulation that true power emerges. Do you notice how some men are effortlessly drawn into your orbit, bending to your plans without resistance, while others resist every suggestion, every request? The difference is not strength, charm, or luck. It is understanding the weaknesses that lie hidden beneath the facade of confidence, loyalty, and pride. To exploit weakness is not merely to attack, it is to anticipate, to manipulate, and to guide outcomes invisibly. Ask yourself, do you see the vulnerabilities around you, or do you ignore them, leaving opportunity for others to seize? History is rich with examples of those who mastered this art. Look to Genghis Khan, whose conquests were as much psychological as martial. He did not merely strike with swords, he struck with fear, division, and cunning. Entire cities surrendered at the mere rumor of his approach. Why? Because he understood the human mind. Panic is contagious, pride can be manipulated, and perceived inevitability often outweighs reason. He exploited weakness not blindly, but with precision. What could you achieve if you approached every interaction with the same clarity of insight? First, recognize that human nature is predictable. Desire, greed, fear, and vanity govern most decisions. A man blinded by pride will act to protect his image, even against his own interest. A man consumed by desire will grasp opportunities without foresight, and a man shackled by fear will surrender before true threat arrives. These are levers. Identify them, and you hold the power to tilt events in your favor. Consider Machiavelli's advice to princes: know your subjects' faults better than they know them themselves, for therein lies your advantage. Could you see their motives more clearly than they see their own? Exploitation begins subtly. Observe before acting. Listen to the words people use, watch the gestures they cannot control, and note the choices they regret. Each reveals a pattern, a blind spot. Julius Caesar did not conquer Gaul through brute force alone. He studied the tribes, understood rivalries, manipulated alliances, and struck where pride blinded judgment. He did not need to overpower every soldier. He needed only to know the weak points in hearts and loyalties, and strike there. Could you act with such calculated precision in your own life? Then comes patience. The weak are seldom exposed in moments of calm. They reveal themselves under pressure, temptation, or provocation. Sun Tzu said it best: know the enemy and know yourself, and you need not fear the result of 100 battles. Test subtly. Observe how they respond to setbacks, to praise, to challenge. Human weakness is like water. It finds cracks, seeps into gaps, and can be directed with careful channels. A patient observer knows exactly when to move, when to prod, and when to withdraw. Next, learn to disguise your intentions. The most effective manipulators never reveal their objective until the result is unavoidable. Consider Cardinal Richelieu again. He often guided his enemies into self-destruction, ensuring that each misstep appeared of their own making. They believed themselves clever, only to discover they were pawns. you must employ the same principle. Let others believe they act freely while you orchestrate the outcome. This is the silent art of power, the control of choice without overt command. Beware, however, the temptation to exploit without finesse. Recklessness exposes you, transforms manipulation into conflict, and invites retaliation. Emotional intelligence is your shield, observation, your sword. Only the measured strike achieves dominance without consequence. History punishes the greedy and the impatient. Remember Hannibal, brilliant, patient, but ultimately undone by miscalculations in timing and trust. Learn from the masters, not their failures. Finally, reflect inward. Exploitation is not mere cruelty, it is strategy. It requires the cold assessment of reality, the suspension of personal bias, and the willingness to act where others hesitate. When you perceive weakness, you are offered an opportunity. To ignore it is to surrender control. To act with precision is to bend outcomes, not merely to react to them. The world does not yield to intention alone. It yields to the one who sees the currents beneath the surface and knows how to steer them. So, ask yourself, do you allow the vulnerabilities around you to dictate events, or do you seize them with calculation and resolve? To master influence, to become truly dangerous, you must recognize that every flaw, every fear, every desire is a tool, and mastery of this law leads directly to the next revelation, shaping your legacy, ensuring that your presence, your decisions, and your influence echo long after your departure. Do you wish to be remembered or merely noted in passing? Most men live and die unseen, their actions trivial, their voices swallowed by time. True power, the kind that echoes through generations, is not measured by wealth or force alone. It is measured by presence. Presence that commands attention, respect, and fear. Presence that lingers long after you have departed. Ask yourself when you act, do others see the magnitude of your intention, or merely the noise of your existence? Consider the rulers who etched themselves into history. Alexander the Great did not merely conquer lands, he conquered memory. Soldiers, allies, and enemies alike remembered the weight of his gaze, the precision of his actions, the inevitability of his victory. Even cities he never touched trembled at the whisper of his name. This is the law of unforgettable presence. It is the deliberate construction of influence so powerful that absence itself becomes felt, and your shadow extends beyond your immediate reach. Presence is perception, and perception is power. The ancient Romans understood this instinctively. Augustus Caesar crafted every image, every monument, every coin to project control, virtue, and authority. He understood that memory can be engineered as effectively as armies can be commanded. You, too, must learn to shape perception with precision. Every word, every gesture, every decision leaves an imprint. Will yours inspire or fade into irrelevance? To become unforgettable, first master the balance of scarcity and visibility. Appear rarely, but decisively. Be present in moments that matter. Consider Napoleon in his campaigns. He rarely acted without purpose, yet when he did, it was impossible to ignore. His presence on the battlefield was a force unto itself, shaping morale, dictating strategy, and bending the perception of friend and foe alike. The absence of overexposure ensures that when you act, the world leans in, anticipating consequence. Would you not prefer to be a storm rather than a drizzle? Second, cultivate actions that speak louder than words. Humans are drawn to legend, to narrative, to demonstration of capability. Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon not only as a tactical maneuver, but as an act that announced inevitability. One decision, one action, crafted a narrative that could not be ignored. When you act, ensure your moves are consequential, visible, and interpreted as inevitable. Memory favors the decisive, the bold, and the unmistakable. Third, leverage symbolic presence. Clothing, environment, gestures, even timing. All communicate power without a word spoken. Consider Elizabeth I. She understood that every entrance, every portrait, every public gesture reinforced her authority. She became a living symbol, and in symbols, humans find meaning and direction. You must create the same resonance. Do not merely exist. Embody influence so fully that you dominate the perception of all who witness you. Next, master the art of emotional resonance. Presence is not fear alone, it is awe, admiration, and respect entwined. Genghis Khan was feared, but he was also revered by those who survived his campaigns. He inspired loyalty and dread simultaneously. To be unforgettable, you must evoke complex emotion, a mixture that ensures memory, obedience, and attention endure beyond immediate interaction. Ask yourself, when people think of you, do they feel nothing, or do they remember a weight that cannot be ignored? Finally, plan for legacy. Unforgettable presence is not limited to your lifetime. Construct actions and decisions that extend influence beyond your immediate reach. Consider the Medici, who ruled Florence through generations by embedding their presence in art, politics, and culture. Influence survives in structures, in systems, in stories told long after the flesh has departed. To be unforgettable is to ensure that absence amplifies impact rather than diminishes it. Reflect: do you act with the awareness that every move, every word, every choice becomes part of your imprint on history? Are you shaping perception, engineering memory, and controlling the narrative of your existence? Or do you drift, leaving only faint traces easily erased? Presence is deliberate, influence is sculpted, memory is earned, and yet, presence alone is incomplete. To wield true power, one must not only be unforgettable, but must also master the subtle interplay of fear, respect, perception, and manipulation that ensures others bend to your will even when unseen. The next law, then, reveals the ultimate strategy: how to merge memory with control, ensuring that your influence is not only remembered but obeyed. Power is never granted. It is seized, subtle, invisible, silent. Those who bend others without their knowledge are the true architects of destiny. They move shadows, plant ideas, and guide choices while remaining unseen. Influence is not loud. It does not demand attention. It commands it. Ask yourself who controls the room when you are absent. Who dictates the outcome before the first word is spoken? If you cannot answer, you are already the pawn. Remember the laws we've explored: presence, perception, detachment, manipulation, legacy. Each is a weapon, each is a strategy. Combined, they make you untouchable. They make you remembered. They make you feared. Do you dare to wield them? Or will you remain ordinary, leaving your influence to drift and decay? Now, act. Comment below with the strategies you will adopt, the truths that unsettled you. Subscribe to sharpen your mind with more Machiavellian tactics. Share this video with those who would understand, and those who need to learn that power is not given, it is claimed. Time is fleeting. Will you be the one who commands it, or the one who obeys?